Welcome to another episode of The Money Honey, the show that brings together women in finance, construction, and property. Now, this show will have guests that I know very well. So they've been either industry colleagues, friends, or absolute randomers that I've found on Instagram, because I'm about sharing other people's stories on this show about what people are doing out there, how they're breaking barriers, how they are challenging the status quo and elevating themselves, because it is a brave thing. Like, everyone's scared, regardless of what level you're at, whether you're in leadership, whether you're a junior, whether you're new. Everyone has that mental barrier about, oh, what if I say this, and what will other people think, and what if I'm going to do this podcast and I mess up? So everyone has that tiny little voice in their head that thinks, but what if? So I wanted to create this really safe space with no pressure at all. So the people that I invite to this show haven't been paid. They're not paying me. They're not clients. Not all of them. Not all of them are clients. It's really a place for someone to say, do you know what? Whilst I don't want to do it, whilst I'm scared, I have to do it. I have to put my face out there. So it's a safe space to bring more female faces to the screen, but also bringing men into the conversation as well. So you will start to see some male guests too, if you haven't already. It depends on what time the show is going to be released, but we're bringing the men to the conversation too, because we just can't talk to ourselves. Like, we have to all be in balance, right? So the next guest that I'm going to bring on for you today, I can call her a friend. We are friends. We are friends now. I'm going to call her my friend. She's my friend, and if she doesn't know that yet, she's my friend. But she did start out as an industry colleague, just someone that I knew, because I've been in financial services for 7 years, and I just knew of Julia Smith from Openwork, the Openwork partnership. And I've always followed Julia. I've always seen her. And most recently, when I started my business, we got closer and closer, because I went to, I remember the time that I thought, yeah, we're friends now. This is when we're friends, was when I saw her at the Women's Recognition Awards. And she was up there on the board. She was a finalist. And I just remember just running over to her and giving her a big hug and celebrating her, because that's what we do, right? That's what you do. So the reason I brought Julia on the show is because she's got over 25 years experience in financial services. And she describes herself as a passionate advocate of holistic family lifetime financial advice. And she's a huge champion for women in finance, for supporting women in finance. So, of course, she had to be on the show. She started her career with Standard Chartered Bank, and she's had a few roles actually in her life, and she moved into the intermediary space, where she currently is. And she did set up her own practice at some point, and went on to manage strategic relationships of all UK networks. So now she's been in Openwork since 2017, managing the top 50 mortgage firms across Scotland, Northern Ireland, Northeast, Northwest, and the Midlands. She's actually known as like Miss North, isn't she? I think that's what they say to her. I think she's laughing in the background. You can't see her, but I think she's known as like Miss North. Like, if you're in the North, you have to know of Julia Smith. If you don't, I don't know where you've been. But she currently manages 7 of the top 20 strategic partner firms, such as Just Mortgages, Newcastle Financial Advisors, and Milecross Financial Solutions, in addition to the growth firms from around the UK. So she manages some big, heavy firms. Okay. That means she's super switched on, super diligent with the work that she does. But then I speak to her and she's just like the most humble, down to earth, relaxed, just chatty Julia. Like, just, we have like the best conversations. So I think what we're going to learn a lot today is the balance that she brings with all the heavy conversations that she has to have with the top firms, very strategic conversations. She's very much a strategy person. But yeah, I love Julia for who she is outside of work as well. She's just got married, so we had lots of chats about our wedding. She got married. She has her own horse. Yeah, she does that on the side as well. She competed, I think, when she sent me her bio. She says she competed at the badminton horse trials, and she's just a real big sports fan. So I think she needs that escape from such an intense role sometimes. So anyway, I'm going to shut up because I can't wait to bring her on. So I'll give her a chance to get ready. So let's do this. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Wow, what an intro. Blimey.
There was a lot to say.
There's a lot to say. There's a lot to talk about and a lot to share, isn't there? But the first thing, over 25 years, I purposely said that because it's not going to be long before it's 30 years in financial services. So I can only get away with it for so long. But I think if I'm going to be called Miss North, that helps me stay young at heart. So I'm happy with that.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. I mean, I think young isn't even the word. Like the way the energy you have, the hunger you have, the ambition, the learning thirst for learning that you have. Yeah, just that is what keeps you young. And regardless of how many years experience you've got in the industry, I think it's just really nice to see that you're still hungry.
And I think being surrounded by people who have the same values is a really key thing. So hence why I'm here to support your show.
Well, this show is here to support you, but thank you. This show is, like I've said before, it's not monetized. I don't get sponsorship for not yet anyway. I'm sure one day there'll be sponsorship and things like that. But I think I'd like to keep it this way for as long as possible because I think there's no I can talk about whatever I want. The guests can talk about wherever they want. I get to choose the guests. They get to direct message me. It's a lot of people underestimate this phase in their life, like when it's not yet big, when it's not yet famous. I think those are the treasured moments because you have so much autonomy and flexibility with what we do. And I'm just really honored to be able to choose speakers like yourself. So tell me, I've done an intro, but for the listeners who have not met you before, tell us who you are, what you do, and what brings you to the show.
So Julia Smith, as I say, been in financial services nearly 30 years. And a little bit of here's a little giggle for you for when I started in financial services. So as you know, horses are my passion. Outside of work, I absolutely have always loved anything to do with horse riding. Eventing is my passion. And so when I was young and a child, it was, that's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be an event rider. I'm going to have horses all my life. But very quickly after leaving school, I decided that maybe this isn't the career for me, and maybe I need to find a career that can help me be very independent and fund the sport that I love, so I can enjoy it, as you say, as my escape. So I actually started off in Standard Chartered Bank with no experience in financial services whatsoever, but a really buzzy atmosphere, a really great atmosphere in this financial services environment, which really helped me make that step across into a new career and something that I am so dedicated to and have enjoyed every minute of this journey through. So that's me as a child. I think a bit of background as well for me. So brought up from a bit of a broken family. My mum married early and had myself. And then before my brother was born, that marriage had dissolved. So we were brought up by my grandfather, who was an absolute outstanding gentleman. Ran his own business, came from the war, back from the war. He was injured, and he and my grandma set up the business together in their local area, and went on to do lots of diverse bits and pieces, which I think is why I'm so hungry and so driven, and understand why. If I'm not, yes, I'm an employee, but I understand business and I understand what helps businesses grow, and I'm determined to help everybody grow and thrive in an environment.
Sorry, Julie, I put myself on mute there because otherwise, sorry, because I'm so into what you're saying and I'm taking notes about what to write later in the show notes because this is your moment, and this is a really beautiful moment for me as well to get to know the guests that I bring on the show, because we never really, when we've been meeting, Julia, we've been doing some stuff for your firms, actually, haven't we?
We have.
Yeah, so you're so, what I did get from the way you work, you're so giving, There's been many conversations where we try and gravitate towards, Julia and Julia's world. And then you're like, yeah, but my firm's need. And it's always like, what can you give to your firms? What can you give to your advisors? So one project that we did work on together was for me to come on one of your webinars for the roadshows, the virtual roadshows that you did. And I did a tiny mini training on social media. Let's talk about the support that you offer for your firms. And in particular, I want to shine a light because you deal with such big firms and, the top firms. I want to shine a light on the female aspect of that, right? What does that look like? What does that landscape or that demographic look like in your world?
So for me, I've worked in financial services, like I say, coming up to 30 years, and it's always been a male-dominated arena. There's no question of that. So if I put recently, we have our peer group meetings, and I try to bring together practice owners who are from all parts of the country to share growth ideas and best practice. And I'm the only female in the room still to this day. However, that's not to say that we can't have females, but majority of the business owners are men. So, we work in a male environment, but I definitely work in partnership. There's no question of that. I don't feel undervalued. In fact, it's the opposite. They can see how much I invest in them, and they actually want to achieve because they can see how much I've invested in them. And again, when I go across the business for support, for me, it's what is it that they're looking to achieve and what does that support need to look like? So whether that comes from a male or a female to me does not matter. It's what is the quality, what is the need, and how do we address it? So for me, as a woman in finance, I feel like I slot in. Maybe that's because, again, I was brought up by a man and, that kind of ethos is maybe inbred in me in that way. But I have no issue with working across in any format whatsoever.
Yeah, I think there's something that the women have that have been on the show so far anyway, that we've all been through the same industry. So financial services is what it is. It's how you navigate through it. And what a lot of the women on this show have shown me, that the secret weapon is that formidable attitude, is that unwavering passion and just getting through it, because it's like you said, you work with, you don't work against. And I've been in the male dominated industry. I started in financial services 7 years ago, and I was in packaging, I was doing master broking. Then I went to being a lender. I've done bridging, commercial development. So yeah, all those are male dominated, but I've always felt appreciated, valued. Yes, there's been really tough conversations. There has been really unwelcome comments but then those individuals, you'll find them anywhere. Like there's going to be individuals that don't have the same level of respect as the next person, and sometimes those comments come from women. So it's not like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I was just going to say, we talk about working in a men's world. Well, actually, we're working now in a more 50-50 level playing field, and more women are coming out and moving forward with us. But that can sometimes lead to some catty comments and some bitchy behaviour in some instances, to which I completely stop this with this be kind attitude, and we're all here to succeed and all want to bring each other up. It's not about individual pushing on to be the top of their game. It's about team, and the more that we can do it together across all industries. I work for one network. That doesn't mean to say I don't give praise to my colleagues in other networks who I've known for many, many years, because this is a great industry to be in, and I want everybody to feel inclusive in it.
Oh yes, Julia. I think we take it for granted that everyone's not like you. Like people haven't got the same attitude, unfortunately. And I do get maybe offline comments from others who feel a little bit nervous about stepping out of their comfort zone because they feel or see the attack coming. And that's really sad. That's why I wanted to create this safe space for people to come and talk and practice and be on the screen and practice being, vocal about their journey. Because, I think some people do fear that attack that could be coming their way from either male or female. So
I can give an example of that. So one thing that I truly believe in is to know your stuff. there's no getting away from it. If you can have a really good understanding of something, that's going to help you with your confidence and your ability to come across as a confident person and knowledgeable. And I can remember being in a practice office. It was a bit like Mastermind, where the chair was there. Go and sit there, Julia. You'll sit round with all the advisors. It very much felt like the spotlight was on. And one of the first questions was, so when did you last give advice in mortgages? Because they assumed that I was just a manager for them who they could pass work off to and give me all of the rubbish jobs and just be there to do their donkey work. And I said, actually, it was only a few years ago when I gave mortgage advice. I said, but obviously more recently I've done my diploma and I've obviously got the wealth experience, which I'd love to think that I can help you with here in your practice today as well. And that conversation very quickly turned around from the attack to, oh, actually, she's got a really good idea as to what we can do together to make sure we're looking at clients more holistically and not just transactionally. So it was a really, really interesting conversation. I went in on the basis of not knowing what to expect. I didn't expect to get attacked, I have to say, but it's how you deal with that attack. And I didn't do it in a nasty way. It was very balanced on the basis of I'm here to support you, work together and find ways in which we can help you all thrive. So, turned it around into a great relationship moving forward.
Yeah, I agree, Julia, because I think I had to deal with something similar to that, where when I came into talking about bridging or commercial, and I'd go into big firms who already had their besties, they had their best friends, and they had, oh, this is my preferred lender, this is who I want to work with. And then I had to argue my case. And I was like, hold on a minute, this product is good. Like, if you look at it on paper and you look at that bridging product versus this bridging product, which one had the better customer outcomes? Like, look at it pragmatically. And they're like, well, yeah, in that situation, yours would have the better customer outcome. But they were like, yeah, but, I trust Mr. Johnny Smith over there at that bank. And then I had to have that conversation. So I was like, okay, I see what we're doing here. I wasn't afraid to eventually, I was at the beginning, but eventually I had to say, look, I can't come in here and be your best friend overnight, right? I don't expect to replace Mr. Johnny Smith with me. I don't want to ruin your relationship over there. I'm simply here to complement what you're already doing. I'm here to add value in areas where others can't. I'm not saying I now want to go down the pub with you, because I'm not here for that, right? I'm not here for golf games and pints down the pub. Like, we don't have to be friends. We're here for your customer outcomes, all right? So if you and Johnny have been friends for a lifetime, you're in the boys club, you're chums, just remember the customer at some point, right? At some point in the journey. And that's how I added my weight into the conversation. That I was like, look, I'm under no false pretenses here that I'm not going to be your golf buddy. Yeah, I appreciate I'm not going to be your golf buddy, but we need to think of your customer. So, and that's when I started gaining respect, because I did position myself in the right place and just address the elephant in the room.
And that's the way to do it, isn't it, really? And, there's many other examples of businesses that I've been in partnership with. You've got to start those relationships, and, you hear of their track history and you have your own assumptions of what you're going to face into. But actually, like we talk about, if you can come across as authentic and you're expecting the same behavior back, then, that's going to put you on the right foot forward. There are so many businesses that I've helped who didn't even have a business plan. They've just built their businesses and they've expanded, and it's then gone, crazy busy. And we've gone back and they've questioned me. Why am I here to do this? What value am I going to add? But then when they pick the phone, when they ring you to say, "Can I ask your opinion?" That's when that relationship's really now holding value, and those relationships stay. The relationships I've got from across the industry, of people I've been in business with, who've been providers, who've been other networks, like I say, who've been advisors, administrators, everybody, and I wouldn't hesitate to reach out to my network when I need support. And I hope that that's the same going the other way, vice versa.
Oh, that's really nice when you know that in the wings you've got backup, you've got champions, you've got supporters. That's really nice, and you've cultivated that, you've built that, you've generated that because of the type of person you are. So before, believe it or not, before the end of the show, I actually want to squeeze in there. I want to give you some time to talk about the holistic family lifetime financial advice, because you always mention this every time we chat. So what do you want to exactly shine the light on this subject?
So the biggest thing for me is we know financial services have a huge advice gap. And the thing with this industry is there are so many clients that need our advice and they're not getting our advice, or they're only touching on individual areas. Now, Consumer Duty is obviously going to shine a huge light on this, and it's going to help firms really unpick what their service proposition is going to look like. But for me, when I have conversations, just with friends, family, if I'm out seeing people for the first time and having conversations and I ask them, about their own, the amount of people that say we don't have a financial advisor, and you think, oh God, you really do need one. And then it's, yeah, I've got a mortgage advisor and I've got someone who does the wealth, and and then I'll say, all right, then great, so you've got yourself, the protection that you need for you and your family, and they'll say, oh God, no, I don't need that. And you think, really, why is it that we as an advisor network, we as an industry, aren't doing this as part of our actual client journey? And I understand that time pressures come, and obviously income pressures come for everybody in work. But it's also about that, making sure we're doing a quality advice job with our clients. So I always try and spend my time with advisors and their administrators who normally naturally progress on to become advisors in the future as well, to look at this and think, if they can't help, who in their network can, so that this client gets that journey that they need. Because we hear the horror stories of where it goes wrong. Some of the classics that I've heard in my time is well, they've got £1 million worth of assets, they don't need to have protection, Julia. Well, that's fantastic, but what happens if this goes wrong? Who is that £1 million actually meant for? And how do we think about underpinning this with protection? Or when you're speaking to the client about the mortgage, where is that deposit coming from? If it's come from their savings, what are they doing about topping those savings back up, etc.? So I'm constantly trying to have those conversations with advisors, and like I say, across the industry, just to keep prodding and making sure that we're thinking about this as an industry, just so that we can raise the bar. That's the main thing. I know there was a poll recently that said that there were more over 55s who would listen to Martin Lewis than they would go and see an advisor. And I'd like to change that.
Yeah, exactly right. So this is a very good point that you're raising, Julia. So from the content perspective, right, if I can obviously match what you're saying, but from a different angle, is that a lot of advisors say, oh, well, I've got the business, I don't need to put myself out there. Or actually, I don't want to be on social media. I just get referrals and word of mouth. And I say, well, the thing is, going out there with information, sharing information and education is not just about lead generation, right? Because your customers have questions, have doubts, have problems, have challenges. And the only person who is vocal enough out there to talk about these challenges is Martin Lewis. So you're leaving your potential customers, your future customers, or even your existing customers to listen to a person who's not even their personal financial advisor when they have a problem. So social media, putting yourself out there or having those conversations with clients, whether you choose to have them face-to-face or digitally online, is not just to get the mortgage application or the protection application, is to further nurture and support in their journey. Because once, like you said, once they've spent the deposit on their house and now they've moved into the house, that doesn't mean they don't need you anymore, right? They need further support from your advisor.
It's just the start, isn't it? That's the start of the journey, and that's the great place to be in. And then to make sure that, it's the family advice. So it's not just that person, it's all of that family and all of their associated friends. There's no question that's what we need to be looking at. And, going back to the point you made about Martin, I've tried to help a number of the firms that I deal with your help as well, Rose, and with others, to start thinking about using YouTube and other platforms where they can record videos which are educational, so that if the client doesn't want to talk to the advisor at that time or it's not convenient, they can just go on their website and read through or watch through, and they've got information that they can then go, right, have I got enough to make a decision with? No, I do actually need to speak to them. So it's not advertising them, but it's consolidating that relationship.
Yeah, obviously, I'm a big advocate for that. Obviously, I don't just use social media to generate leads or to help brokers and advisors generate leads. That's not what the point is. In fact, we do quite the opposite. It's a byproduct. Like the leads and the lead generation that comes off the back of your exposure on social media is a byproduct of sharing information. That's what it's all about. It's just an opportunity to share with your client what you know and how you can help. And then if they need you, then they're naturally going to want to reach out, because you have been a fountain of knowledge. You've been a source of inspiration. You've been a great help. So people like people that give value. And that's all that an advisor needs to do, is give away your value. Have a little YouTube TV show of everything you need to know about, finances, budgeting, investments. Give away that free value. It's only 5 minutes per video, 10 minutes per video, for a lifetime of loyalty from a client. That's what you get from it, don't you, Julia?
You absolutely do. You absolutely do.
Yeah. So listen, we are coming to the end of the show, and I just want to ask you a couple of side personal questions. They're not too personal, but things like, for example, in the industry, who has been a great cheerleader for you? Who would you publicly name and nominate for someone who's been truly there for you?
Can I say that this is not in the financial services industry, but this is someone who's been a speaker in the financial services industry.
Go for it.
So any time that, for whatever reason, I don't feel confident, or I'm not feeling inspired, I'm not feeling energized, I immediately think of Claire Lomas. So Claire Lomas was an event rider, and she unfortunately had a serious incident at an event where she was paralyzed. This woman, you must watch her, you must bring her in to see your teams, you must have her on your podcast. She is so inspirational, because you think, I'm determined. You want to see a lady who decides to wear a mechanical suit and walk the London Marathon. And I believe that the London Marathon wouldn't give her the medal because it went against the competition terms and conditions, but the amount of support that she got across the nation meant that everybody had signed in to say, we think this is disgusting, look what she's done, and she's raised all this money for spinal cord injuries. And she was awarded her medal. In fact, other runners dedicated their medal and donated their medal to her. She was just outstanding. So this is a lady who, from a very young age, was competing horses at a very high level, top level. She had this really unfortunate freak accident whilst competing. Her life changed overnight, and now she's, like I say, married. She has 2 children who are fabulous. She's walked the London Marathon. She hand cycles marathons. She is now flying a glider. She's riding an adapted motorbike. There is nothing this woman can't do, and so that inspires me.
Wow. Is this the Bionic Woman?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh my goodness. This is why I love asking this question, because it's I get to explore people that I may have forgotten about, or don't normally hear from. So thank you for sharing that with me and the listeners. Is there anything you're currently? I know you're a big sports fan, right? I know you love that. I know you love your horse. Is there anything you're currently doing from a mental well-being perspective? How do you juggle such a heavy job and still then look glamorous, beautiful? Relax, and you have drinks with your husband. I've seen that. Like how do you keep that balance in your head?
I think it is a balance, like you say. So in the past, when I was getting the horse ready to go to Baden horse trials, I was physically training constantly. every day with the horse, on top of a full-time job. And so my aim was to get to badminton horse trials, and we did it. We qualified, we won our section, we won our regional final, and then off we went to badminton, and it was fabulous. It was a childhood dream, and we achieved it together. It was amazing. But then when that finished, and I knew that that was going to be the end, and I wanted to stop because I had burnt myself out, I felt like I had no purpose other than work. And you can't just live and breathe work. You can, but it's not the be all and end all. You must have a balanced life. So for me, exercise is really key. Over the pandemic, our company were fantastic with us, and everybody was given a subscription to Calm. I've never used Calm before in my life, and I just found it, because I'm quite fast paced, just to have that 10 minutes out, just to think and really open your mind. And it really made sense. And so I found myself, instead of being quite high wire, I've actually relaxed, and I'm actually seeing things more broadly and enjoying life better, I would definitely say. I still love riding the horse, and it's quality time now. He still enjoys his jumping, his dressage. And I actually think if I had my time again, I wouldn't try as hard, because we would have got there anyway.
Wow.
So maybe life is not about trying so hard, but enjoying every minute that we get.
Wow, what a statement. Yeah, I feel, yeah, I definitely feel like sometimes I'm trying, like there was, oh gosh, right. So my final note on today, which was that we're trying to have like a cold shower, and then I'm trying to meditate, and then I'm trying to stay off the carbs, and then I quit alcohol for 3 months, for Jan, Feb, March. Now I'm back. So then I broke it for a little bit for International Women's Day. Now I'm back on. And then I'm like, I'm so bored and exhausted of trying to be so balanced, for trying to be like this holistic well-being person. Like, what if I just stop trying? Like, maybe just stop. Like, if I don't enjoy this cold shower, and I'm forcing like every morning, forcing myself, like, yeah, sometimes, Julia, I'm just like you.
You are very brave having those cold showers.
Yeah, I mean, I tried. I mean, I'm looking at my, Ash Borland, and he's there in a bucket doing his cold dips, and I'm like, yeah, like positive people, and I've got to, if my competitor's doing that and he's being really successful, he probably doesn't even know I'm giving him the shout out, because we are actually we're really close. Like, I've been on his podcast 3 times. He was a big instigator for me to like launch my own business when I was scared to do it. But, you look at people, like, let's look at, competitors. You look at Ash, or maybe brokers look at each other and think, oh, that broker's doing that, I should be doing that. We all catch ourselves. We all fall into that trap. But sometimes, like you just said, it's like, just stop trying.
I totally agree. So in my world of competing with the horse, and in our industry of competing, like you say, against the industry, it is that. And, if you can take yourself out of the moment and look down over yourself, just have a look at how fantastic you are anyway. You're doing amazing. Continue doing amazing.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's where I'm at right now, is less is more. Stop trying. Stop trying so hard, and stop clinging. It's the clinging part. It's like, stop trying to force something that, if it's just not fitting in, and it's not bad, because that's just not going to give you balance. But listen, Julia, I've just had the best time. Again, this time we've recorded our conversations. We've had so many offline conversations and so many private chats. But, this has by far been one of my favorites, because I've actually got to know you a lot deeper, and I've got to share it with others as well. So if you're listening to this, guys, please give Julia a like. Please like this episode and share it with people that you think might benefit from it as well. And I'm sure Julia would be delighted if you want to follow her journey, to connect on LinkedIn. Is that right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Good. Well, thank you again for tuning in, guys. Like I said, please like and subscribe to the podcast, and also give Julia a nice little thumbs up. And yeah, the next one.
Thank you so much for letting me join you, and enjoy every show.
Thank you, Julia.